All right, last topic for today is, of course, someone that fought last Saturday that everybody's talking about, and we're not talking about Overeem or any of that stuff. We're talking about a guy on the undercard there who has captured MMA hearts with his, as I put it in my article that I put out every week, his parkour style of martial arts. It's Michel Pereira. He looked amazing, especially compared to his last couple fights where he did the illegal knee that got DQ'd against Diego Sanchez and the loss to Tristan Conley. A lot of people are talking about he called for Jorge Masvidal or Nate Diaz, whoever wins the BMF belt. A lot of people are talking about that this guy is looking like the next contender, looking like he might have a really good future in a stacked welterweight division. What say you, Mr. Wells?
I say that the man is a maniac, and I think we all know that if we see him fight. He's 4 fights into the UFC now. He's 2-2 on the record, right? We know how the DQ went, as you said, probably on his way to winning that one, right? But anyways, it's interesting to think because a guy like him, to be that comfortable, to do the things that he does in the cage, it tells you that he has a lot of skill and that he's got a lot of crazy in him as well. But that kind of craziness and the flashiness, the backflips, the handsprings, the Showtime kicks off the cage, at some point he's going to run into somebody where that's going to backfire on him. And it's not going to be a good night at the office. Probably somebody that loves to wrestle. One of those wrestlers is going to get in there and take him off of his feet. And then all of a sudden, all of that stuff is out of the window. Can you get back up? How many times will you get back up? And then are you still going to have enough left in the gas tank to continue to do the flashy things that you love to do? And one of those things that caught my eye, or that caught my ear rather, in the last fight that we just saw him in, was DC was always talking about, in commentary, he was talking about when he was doing those flashy techniques, at times he was questioning why do it. And I think that that's part of the genius of his strategy, is because you got to keep your opponent kind of like frozen in place, because you have no idea what he's going to do. So if you go out there and just do traditional stuff over and over, your opponent's going to get more comfortable. And if you all of a sudden throw a cartwheel kick out of nowhere, it's like you kind of a little bit more apprehensive. You're a little bit more on the back of your foot. But in terms of his ceiling and like his place in this sport, it's still too early for me in the UFC. I need to see him against better competition, a wrestler. If he can go out there and beat like a fringe top 15 wrestler that's going to go out there and put a grind on him, if he can get past that test, then I'll say his ceiling is pretty high. I don't know if he's championship material, but what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about 2 of the top contenders in this division being, crazy good wrestlers, and that's Colby Covington and Kamaru Usman, the champion. So it's hard to imagine how his style would fit against those guys, because like you said, he hasn't really gone up against those yet. So far, he's gone up against Danny Roberts, Tristan Conley, Diego Sanchez, and now Zalim Imadaev, I believe.
Yes.
How he says. Yes. And so, I mean, from that standpoint, yeah, we don't know exactly how he does as a wrestler. We do know that he does have possibly a gas tank issue when he does get stuck in a grind, based on that Tristan Conley fight, right? He was out doing flips, going crazy, going 100% wild, and then kind of gassed out in the last 2 rounds, and Conley was able to grind out an easy decision win. That was very clear. We also know that that those wild antics obviously got him DQ'd against Diego Sanchez. And, if he doesn't rein that in, he easily could accidentally, head stop somebody or throw a kick that's illegal and cause a DQ. We don't really know about that. The ironic thing is this last fight might get overturned because of a ref issue, not because of him. Simply based on the way the stoppage was, I'm sure Imadaev will appeal it, and who knows what the commission will say. But, that might get overturned and cause more headaches for him. From what I've seen, part of the reason I think right now, and I am with you that it's a little too early to make any kind of final judgment call on this, but from what I've seen right now, I think he's probably a fringe top 15 guy, maybe gets in there depending on who he fights. But that's where his ceiling is. is also because his level of competition, even though he's done a lot of flashy things, even though he looks good, I mean, the fact that he couldn't put away Imadaev from strikes, who has been put away before by Danny Roberts and others, you know, he's tough, but he's not that tough. The fact that he, you know, against Diego Sanchez had trouble, you know, finishing that bout, even when Sanchez didn't look great towards the end there, and it looked like if he just swarmed him and focused his craziness, he might be able to finish it. I wonder, even though he does have one knockout win against Danny Roberts, I wonder if he is going to be able to have that success against wrestlers and against just good boxers. I feel like somebody with good boxing or kickboxing could present some problems for him if they're kicking out his legs, if they're causing him some issues where they're able to just kind of roll off those crazy punches or see him coming and then stand in the pocket and trade some combinations. You know, does that present a whole new, you know, series of problems for him? Could it be that I'm wrong here and that, you know, he concentrates, he gets a little bit more tame, I guess. He does a Justin Gaethje and reinvents himself, gets a little less wild and is able to do that stuff? Yes. But I also think that part of his road to success and his popularity is based on his crazy style. And I'm not sure he's going to want to give it up, because I do feel he has the rare opportunity to become a popular fighter who is never really a contender or champion based on his fighting style. So to me right now, I'm saying top 15, maybe at 15, but probably fringe outside the top 15, top 25-ish for right now. That's what I think.
For sure. And you touched on something really, really important there. That's going to be a major factor in his UFC tenure, is that he is so popular and that he is so likable. He's got the look, you know, he's got the flashy style. All of that stuff, as long as he stays in goods with the UFC brass, means easy fights for him, or favorable matchups for him. Let me put it that way, because there was a former matchmaker of the UFC who once famously said behind the scenes, I won't divulge my source here, but he said, I can schedule you a loss to anybody in the UFC, pretty much. So it's one of those things. I think as long as he stays in good with those guys and, you know, he does the right things and says the right things, I could see very favorable matchups for him. I could see that wrestler that we talk about getting put off until he absolutely has to run into one. So I could see him going out there, hey, go out there, fight this other striker and go look good. You know, just go out there, just don't get caught with something crazy. They're going to give him those types of fights, I think, because he is the marketability thing right now for the UFC is so huge to where they need stars. They need guys that will draw viewers to the TV screens, because there's no audience right now. So, hey, guys like Michel Pereira, keep going out there, adding to that highlight reel. We can put that highlight reel all over commercials and promos, and people are going to be like, whoa, I got to watch this guy. So I think that's the route that they're going to keep this guy on for now.
Yeah. And again, that's where my only question is, what does he look like against a real technical kickboxer or a very, you know, tight technical boxer? If they're able to kind of just roll off with some of those hits and then, you know, piece him up on counters and he gets stopped, then you've kind of found your ceiling. And from what I've seen, I think that could very well be the case. But you're right. I wouldn't be surprised we get a lot more favorable matchups if we get some guys willing to go in there and brawl with him simply from a UFC marketability standpoint. It would make sense to keep him, you know, rolling on that train for as long as possible. So we'll see. But yeah, it's a little too early. We'll see how it goes. But either way, I don't think he has much to worry about in terms of being the UFC's new favorite.
For sure. And one last point, since you brought up another good point right there, is that in terms of opponents, guys are going to sign up to fight this guy because they see the crazy flashy techniques. They'll be like, oh, I can take care of that guy easy. So that's going to be even better for him when it's like trying to find fights against guys, you know, even guys with names. They're going to be like, I can take this guy out. He's crazy. He just goes out there, tries to do backflips and cartwheels in the middle of the fight, which is just insane to think that anybody's doing that when your consciousness is on the line. but hey, I'm not a professional fighter. So, hey, if he feels comfortable enough to do it, All right, whatever. More power to him.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I don't know. I can't understand the rationale myself, but again, I am also not a cage fighter. So give me Mike Perry versus Michel Pereira, and let's get that crazy wild fight week. Get 1 million+ views, and then see what happens. Because why not?
Why not? Why not?